Wrexham's a club that'll always have a special place in my heart because it's a place where I really started to enjoy my football when I did come back from the loans from.
Welcome to the Reflective Coach podcast with Coach Luca. In this episode, I'd welcome Ntumba Massanka, former Manchester United Academy product. Ntumba has had a wonderful experience and has been up and down the English League and has experienced various clubs and various leagues facing many challenges along the way, such as going out on loan multiple times and also experiencing loans abroad. But Ntumba takes this in his stride and adds it to his game. He's more than willing to adapt and has embroiled in the loan moves that have come his way. He's accepted them for what they are. He's learned much along the way. He's met many great people and has played at some great clubs. Ntumba also played at Manchester City Academy. He had a wonderful experience there, but it wasn't the same as his time at Manchester United. Manchester United was his home and always will be deep down. He loves Manchester United, and from there he had gone on to sign his first ever professional contract with another Premier League club, Burnley. Ntumba had a great time at Burnley, being offered the opportunity to play within the first team and had experiences whilst training with them. From there, Burnley loaned him out several times and Ntumba found himself playing at Wrexham. Ntumba took much of his time away from Wrexham and had learned lots about himself and everything that he offers as a footballer. Ntumba currently plays for South Shields FC. Listen to the rest of the episode, gain these great insights into what Ntumba had to say, and enjoy the episode. It was wonderful to interview him, and I really enjoyed the experience. Ntumba has a lot to offer, and he has a great personality taking much within his stride. So enjoy the episode. You can listen to this on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, and Podcast Addict. You're also able to find the podcast on LinkedIn and Twitter. This is Coach Luca, the Reflective Coach podcast.
If I put my phone like this and you still hear me?
Yeah, that's fine. That's completely fine.
How long are we on phone?
However long you want to. There's no time frame on it. If we do it in half hour, whatever works really.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I really appreciate you taking the time because I know how busy the lives and schedules of professional footballers are.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
But no, it is great to talk to you. And I was really intrigued by the career that you have had, and where you sort of come from. In terms of coming through Manchester United, Man City, Burnley. Going out to Wrexham, and where you're currently playing. So it's a great background.
Yeah, thank you.
That's right. And how's it going where you currently are?
Yeah, the season's been tough. Obviously, as you know, as most people know, it's well documented that obviously South Shields is a club that are trying to progress and obviously trying to get in the Football League and stuff like that. So, no, it's a good place to obviously work, stuff like that. So, hopefully the new season brings South Shields success.
Well, let's hope so. And that success can only be brought by that motivation from the entire team and that motivation within. It can that be instilled from within the playing environment from players just by one or two changes?
Yeah, but at the same time, obviously, I'd like to that if you obviously sign for a club that are obviously motivated by winning, I think that should motivate you in itself as a player. Obviously, come here and want to do well. So, I don't think we have any problems on the motivational front, like for players to do well. So, yeah.
And does that background of playing up in the higher leagues, going then down to a team like South Shields, help your motivation even more for a club in that environment?
I think so. Yeah. Like obviously, I'm a player with obviously for my age, I've had quite a lot of experience at obviously teams in the higher level. So obviously, always want to play as high as you possibly can. But at the same time, it's also a challenge to play in at teams that are in a higher level. Got to adapt sometimes, obviously, to certain things. and it can take getting used to sometimes. But I mean, I think everything's in place for South Shield forward. To be honest,
That's great to hear. And when you sort of want to create that environment and you've got that internal motivation to do well, that helps your character. Is it difficult at times when going out on loan and changing clubs, such as going to South Shields, that entire change in your personal life as well? Is that quite tough to sort of adapt to?
well, for me, not really, because I've obviously my whole career I've been used to kind of moving around. I've been here, there, and everywhere, sort of thing. But I can imagine it being difficult for obviously lads that are not used to doing that sort of thing. But for me, it's not been difficult in a sense.
And you've been out to Belgium, you've been out to Italy, and you've come back round into England, and you've been up and down the leagues. Did you
Yeah.
enjoy your time out in abroad compared to England?
Do you know what? I love my time out abroad, to be honest, compared to England. Yeah, because it was just learning a different culture and learning a different style of play. Obviously, as you can imagine, in Belgium, it was a lot more technical. A lot more technical players. It weren't physical. And then when I went to Italy, it was physical, and then it was very defensive. So it was just nice to learn things, obviously, from different cultures and that. So yeah.
And going out to Italy, was you influenced by the social life? The amazing food that is on offer. Is that quite difficult to sort of try and get around?
Do you know what? I was influenced by quite a lot of things. Obviously, the fact that the club that I actually went to really wanted me, and they really did a lot for me to be there, which I was very very grateful for. And when I did arrive there, the way they welcomed me, and that was amazing. Also, I have sort of family in Italy as well. And I've just always been a big lover of Italy as a place, as a country, and I've always been intrigued by it. So obviously, when that offer came through, um, my mind was already sort of made up that I wanted to go and experience it. So
And when you go out to Italy and you go into that new club and that new change room, that environment with those players, is it really difficult to sort of engage in it and become part of that because obviously the language barriers and etc.
yeah, do you know what? My first couple of weeks in Italy was quite difficult because um, obviously with Latin languages you can kind of understand, but it was just little things like what the culture was trying to get me to do. I didn't really understand at times, but there was lads that obviously the lads were amazing there. They obviously tried to help they could, and then I started to understand what the manager wanted, and I started actually taking Italian lessons. It was just a shame that obviously when COVID-19 happened, obviously we couldn't play any games and stuff like that. So that's how my Italy journey really ended, to be honest, which was a shame. But it was an amazing experience.
And that's great to hear. I was only speaking to another interviewee yesterday, and she's saying how the exact same thing where she went out to Italy and it was affected by COVID, and how difficult that horizon was because that excitement of being out in Italy, the lifestyle and the opportunity to play, and then suddenly COVID hits, and then that sort of took away that Italian dream as such.
Yeah, it was very frustrating because all footballers just want to do is play football, to be honest. And obviously, with the restrictions of the rules and the COVID rules and stuff like that, obviously I was living in a hotel when I was there, so I was stuck in a hotel most of the time, and it was difficult. But again, credit to the club because they really looked. He put me up in a really nice hotel. Had everything I needed, to be honest. But it was just the COVID that obviously seeing that move off. So yeah,
Of course, and when it comes to like fans when they come and see you play and they come and see their club and then they go home after a game and they don't think maybe any more of the footballers and they just go and enjoy their lives. What they don't see is those adversities that you faced. Living in a hotel, going out abroad, those loans and everything that you're going through. So is it difficult at times when you're away from the football pitch to sort of go through all that behind the scenes?
I think so. It is, but especially obviously there's a massive stigma where obviously people don't like men don't really talk about obviously what goes on in that. And I'll be open. I'm not really a person that go and speak about whatever issues I have with um, certain people. But it is tough because fans only see one side of football, which is a shame. And it's not their fault. They only get to see what happens on a Saturday. But there is a lot of people that go through a lot of things. I think in that period after COVID, for me, I went through quite a lot in terms of like I lost a cousin of mine that played football, who was the same age and stuff like that, and I went through a real difficult period. Um, that wasn't in Italy, but when I was in Italy, just touching on when I was in Italy, it was tough because obviously my mum would be calling me. Obviously, she's worried about people dying in COVID and all that. To be honest, when I was there, it didn't really bother me. I wasn't really thinking about obviously all of that. I was just trying to think about football, to be honest. But when you obviously sit back and think about the actual seriousness of the situation that was happening, obviously I'm really glad that obviously I made that obviously untouched with anything. And yeah, to be honest,
And that it's very difficult, and I appreciate and understand that. And I'm not sure whether you heard of, may have seen it in the news, but the Lee Collins, the Yeovil captain,
yeah,
a very good personal friend of mine, and I know his children and family quite well, and I've coached his eldest daughter, and I know them quite well. And the moment that sort of hit, and when I first saw his name, I couldn't. It wasn't surreal to me that it was him, and but I knew deep down what he was going through, and everything that he was fighting, and it's
yeah.
those hidden things that you don't see, and what they're going through, living in hotels, traveling back and forth, not seeing family, and it's so difficult.
It was. Do you know what? Even to see that was kind of surreal because I remember playing against Lee Collins the season before when I was at Chorley. And I remember playing against him and he was Yeovil captain. Right, wow, this is like obviously my heart goes out to his family and stuff like that. But it's just so sad and people don't like they just think oh someone's a footballer so all right they're earning all this money and stuff like that. But the difference between the Premier League and then the lower leagues it's massive. Like the levels in support that you get in the Premier League and the level of support that you get in the lower leagues is completely different. So I mean, it is sad, and I hope obviously a lot will be over the next coming year to obviously help footballers in the lower leagues to overcome mental health issues or stuff like finish the career, stuff like that. So yeah,
No, absolutely, and I know that one of his worries was when he was finishing playing, what was he actually going to be doing? And, especially when he's playing down in the lower leagues and they weren't in even League Two. What was going to come for him because that money dries up. You're not getting paid that, and for him, it's always been football, 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 and he never really sort of had anything else in his mind. So, in that sense, do you sort of reflect and have a backup in case anything did happen in football to you?
do you know what? I started to think more about that maybe during COVID times because I just thought to myself, I've never really known what I like other than football, which I'm pretty guessing that 90% of footballers are exactly the same. Like, all I've ever known is football. So I'm starting to obviously learn more things I kind of like and stuff like that. And I'm wanting to go down that route of trying to find something and nail something that I think is outside of football that I want to do.
When it comes to football, that's all you've ever known. You signed your first academy contract at the age of 9. So in contrast to a player who might have get that first contract at the age of 15, 16, and when you've had it at 9, just prolongs that. That's all you ever get to know, really.
Yeah, yeah. Like saying that, obviously I signed my first contract at a club at 9 years old, but I was actually at Man United from 5 years old. So like you say, that's my whole life basically playing football. So yeah,
And especially from a young age when that's your dream, and then suddenly a big club like Man United, you're on their books, and then by the age of 9, they're giving you this contract to sign, and how surreal that is. Just, it's that incredible dream sort of given to you at such a young age, and then it's like, well, this is football, and if I've been signed now at the age of 9, then, I can't see not getting a contract at the older age because I'm only going to get better.
Yeah. That aspect of it is tough because obviously at 9 years old, you're dreaming of playing for Man United. You don't actually know steps that it takes, and you're basically having fun with your mates, to be honest, at that age. But one thing, obviously, we was always taught at Man United is that um, the probability of you making it as a footballer is very slim. So, and it was always like, you've got this shirt, but there's a kid in Brazil or there's a kid in Russia or whatever that wants that exact shirt. So you need to understand how much of a privilege it is to have that shirt, play for Man, which I really admired about the club. Yeah.
And you came through an amazing era at Man United, which, when that brand, which is still does stand for something, but when it was so much more when you were a younger player, and, the likes of the academy players that came through the system at that time, did you sort of look up to them in a way like, oh, they've gone from Man United, I'm going to be the next one of them?
I think so. Yeah, like when I was that age, when I was young and I was at Man United, I absolutely my favorite player ever, bar Messi and Ronaldo, was Wayne Rooney. Like I just tried to copy everything that Rooney done when I was a kid, even when I was on the street. All of his running off screaming Rooney, like that's who I be like. And it was a massive motivation, obviously. Sometimes going into the first team, I think it was like people like Danny Welbeck and stuff like that. So it was amazing to see them people in the first team playing for Man United, and then obviously more recent times, it's amazing to obviously see lads that I grew up with playing for Man United in the same groups that I'm still friends with, and obviously lads that were in the same age groups at the same time as I was, that are now playing in the Premier League and the Championship and all that stuff. So it's really amazing to see. To be
And it's surreal to still see those players sort of come through and still play, themselves as well, and have those relationships. Can it be hard to maintain those relationships in those elite environments when everyone's out for themselves sort of thing, but you're also there as a collective, as a team?
Yeah, I mean, obviously as you get older, obviously you have less time for people in it. That's just nature in it. That's just how life is. I mean, but I still have good relations with a lot of the boys that I played with at these obviously elite clubs, and that lads that are playing in the Championship, wherever it be. We might not talk every day, but if we bump into each other, we always obviously throw it back, have in-depth conversations about obviously when we and stuff, and how they're getting on at the moment. So, I mean, one thing that football does do, it unites people, and I've made so many friends through football. I think the beauty of the game, to be honest. So, yeah.
And that's an amazing experience because you never know what manager might have managed you before, and then they
Yeah.
go and join another club, and suddenly you're like, all right, I got a great relationship with him. I've seen him play. I know how good he is. I'm going to bring him back, and it always keeps those doors, sort of open. Um, and out of the time at Man United, uh, following shortly from that, you ended up at Man City for a bit. How did that fluctuate and happen?
So I'd been released from Man United the end of my under season. It would have been like 13 at the time or whatever. And funnily, we actually played one of my last games for United. Now, one of the Man scouts obviously knew. I think when you're that age, the clubs obviously put the lads that have been released on a list, and the clubs can have. But this Man City scout really liked me, and he come up to him the game and said, "What's your situation with your son?" Sort of thing. I've heard that obviously they're going to release him. So my dad was like, "Yeah," and then asked obviously if I'd like to go Man City for a week or whatever. So we said, "Yeah." Obviously, we ended up going to Man City for the week, and it was quite a transition at first because I knew most of that were my age anyway, because obviously playing against them from young, and growing up in similar areas. So it was quite smooth at first, but then when I actually initially signed there, it was just everything was just so different because, and that wasn't to do with the play. It was just the culture at Man City then, and the culture at Man United was completely different. I mean, I'd spent my whole life United as a kid, basically. And Man United was a family club back then when Fergie was the manager. Everyone kind of sort of knew everyone, and I felt like I'd left my family to go to my next door neighbours. Do you know what I mean? And it was tough at times, but then that ended up at Burnley.
And it's obviously being, it's very difficult to be told you're being released at the age of 13, especially when you say you spent, your practical childhood there and they've become your family. How difficult was that at a young age to be told you're being released?
I always describe it as to like people that always ask me about obviously got released there. It was like my first proper heartbreak in life. Like obviously can be heartbroken by a girl, like, but this was like I'd never experienced anything like that. I was literally physically sick for a week. I didn't leave my room for a week. I'm pretty sure I didn't go to the building. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to see anyone do anything. I was just so hurt about obviously leaving my boyhood club at the time, and I was obviously United at the time, so there was just so many thoughts in my head at the time. So yeah, it was a bit tough to be honest.
I've been an academy coach myself, and I've been there, and I've seen players sign their contracts and then be released a few years later. But then I've also been in a position where I've had to deliver the news to players, and that is one of the most difficult things that I've ever experienced as a coach. So to sort of go through it on that flip side as a player, is so difficult, especially at the age of 13.
It was tough because everyone in the club really, really liked me because I had obviously when I was young, I had like this personality which on with absolutely everyone. It didn't really matter. Like it was tough to obviously not be able to go back. I always remember my last training session. I don't know if you've been to Carrington, but the pitches, the under 11s or 12s pitch time was right at the back of the training ground. So you had even late to jog. I was sprinting to get to the pitch, and like I was sprinting, but I was crying. And then I remember turning the corner and my eyes and stopped crying. Yeah, it was tough, but it's probably one of the best things that happened. To be honest.
And it's one of those things that you don't see. That could be the best thing that happens, and then it turns out that way, and that's the way that life is. And then
Yeah.
Burnley comes around, and you end up signing your first pro contract. And at that time, when signing that first contract, what was all the emotions that you were going through?
Um, when I signed my first pro contract, the emotions that I was going through, I was just, I think kind of took everything into my stride, obviously at that time. But obviously, initially, I was really proud. Obviously, my parents, my mum and dad, they were really, really proud of me. Obviously, my parents sacrificed a lot for me to have the career that I've had. Like, I remember going countless places. I think my dad's been everywhere with me, to be honest. Probably every academy training ground, my dad's probably been with me. And these are times when he's not had a car. There's been times with walks, we've got up and stuff like that. And you kind of look back on them moments and you think, like, this is like, to get to this point, it's amazing. But at the same time, in my head was like, this is only the start sort of thing. So I've done the easy part. Now we're actually at the hard part. So yeah.
And when you sign that pro contract at a young age, and then you're in that environment in the first team, are going, right, come and train with us, come and be part of that. We want to look at you. When you're going into training and you're seeing the likes of Joey Barton there, and the experience that he has and the kind of personality and persona that he carries, was that quite difficult to sort of, as a young lad, to go into that sort of training and that environment to come up with players like him?
I never found it difficult, to be honest, just because of how I am as a personality. Like I've every club I've been at, I've always got on with everyone. That whether it be fans or the players, I've always got on with them, like with them like that. So I didn't. look at it as I'm going into Burnley's first team. I just looked at it as another challenge, and I think the the players respected me because I respected them, but they also that obviously I wanted to obviously take the places. So, for example, I really got on really well with Joey Bat, and he respected me. He thought I was a good player, and also at the time I was a good lad in that, and I was really respectful with the first team players in that. I was a bit cheeky, don't get me wrong, but not cheeky in a bad way. Cheeky is in a confident way. I believed in my so much of my ability at that time. So yeah.
And then, that cheekiness helps you stand out and be recognised, and, helps your personality. And suddenly, the other, teammates are starting to take to you because of that.
Yeah, I think as a young lad, if you're going into a first team environment, you need to have something about you. You need to have some. You're adding group like you can't go there and go into your shell. You need to be yourself, and if someone is disrespecting you, then you've got to draw a line under it quickly, because if then they'll find it easy to obviously um, to take the mick. To be honest, but yeah, I think you just need to be bold and strong to be.
No, absolutely, and having that boldness and strongness, really helps you stand out, and have those honest conversations with the manager, what they expect of you, and the way that they want you to play, and then the teammates start taking to you, and that's everything that you can apply in terms of how the other clubs start to look at you when you go out on loan, etc. With the amount of loans that you've been out on, is there any point where you were told that you're going out on loan and that you didn't really want to go there?
No, I didn't want to go to. Um, no, to be honest, because there was only one, and that was my very first loan. But it's not that I didn't want to go there. It was that I felt like I was good enough to play in the first team at Burnley at the time. So I felt like if I was put into the team at Burnley, obviously this is my opinion, manager's opinion, but if I was put into the team, I could have added to that team. And at that point, I was in such a rich vein of form, scoring wise, that I knew if I had a chance, it's going in no matter what. It could have hit my knee and went in. Like, I was just in that sort of form. So when I did end up going out on loan to York City, it was tough because I'd gone from being in a first team environment that is at the top of the championship to then going into a League Two team that are battling relegation. And obviously, because I'd scored so many goals in the 23s, the expectations on me was massive when I got there, and it was just a different type of football, to be honest, like to what I'd been used to, and it was a massive reality check. And obviously, strikers feed off service. The team was really struggling. I can't remember us. I remember us winning one game when I was there. And obviously, eventually that team ended up going down, but that was a massive shock for me, and it was like, welcome to real football. So yeah.
And if when that team did go down, and you knew that you were going back to Burnley, your loan was finished. Do you feel a sense of sadness that they've gone down, but a sense of relief that you're leaving?
Um, a sense of sadness, to be honest, is uh, I had good relationships with people there. They looked after me well there, so I was sad that the club had gone down, but I was also happy that I was going back to the club at the time. But then I didn't really get on with the 23s manager at Bird, so it was a that I went a little base. So yeah,
And you play as a centre forward. You're an attacking player. Did you start out as an attacking player, which forged your career?
I've always been a striker, so from young, like from very young, so I've never really thought about playing in any other position, to be honest.
And, in that sense, that's the first, time that I've heard the players say they started out as in that position and they stayed in that position. A lot of, other players which I've spoken to have said they started out as a striker and then ended up playing central defender. So, it's that sense of belief and that quality which you've had as a striker, which is quite clear that you've always carried through, which has led to you getting to where you are and being that striker.
Yeah, I know. I'm one of them people. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I can bring to the team. Uh, I wouldn't for the career that obviously with the teams that I played for. If if you're a fan of the teams that I played for, I don't think you'd say that he's an out and out goal scorer. But what you would get from me is that I always work hard for the team. I'm a player that likes to link other players into the game and stuff like that. So yeah.
And that's great. And when you're open and honest, and you're saying, I know what I'm good at, and it's this and this. When you sort of have those conversations with manager, or you're looking at contracts and negotiations, and when those sort of things arise, sometimes when a manager's sort of talking to you in those negotiations, they're like, I expect this and this, I want this and this. So in your response, then, do you sort of go, well, I'm good at this, and this is why you should be signing me because of this?
To be honest, like for example, I've had a few managers where they've said to me, "Look, all I want you to do is just come in, be a nuisance, just be big and strong, hold it up, set in the box." I think managers like that have it works better for me because they just want me to do the basics of the game, and obviously that's the hardest thing to actually do in the game. So I think once I start getting my head around that, it's perfect for me because I'm really a player that like I have too much information of a manager. I don't really many players do want to know what I'm actually out there to do. So yeah.
And when those moves, come into fruition, and a manager's going, right, there's a 1 year contract there for you, and you're going, well, no, I'd like two, and they're going, well, it's one or nothing. Even though you signed that 1 year contract, you're like, right, I can work hard. Maybe I'll get a 2 year after this one. The opportunities here, I've definitely got a year. Do
Mm.
you feel when you sign that 1 year contract, though, you're like, well, if this doesn't work out, I gotta go again next year?
Yeah, I've always felt like that to be honest. Like I want to play football. Do you know what I mean? So I do want to sign another contract elsewhere, just because you might not be good enough. It don't mean someone I'm not good enough for someone else. So um, I think it's one down to your attitude. If you think you're good enough, which I do, then you will obviously want to.
And growing up in London, in Tottenham, did you grow up as a Tottenham fan?
Do you know what? I didn't actually grow up in Tottenham. I was born in Tottenham, and I lived in Tottenham till I was about 3 or 4, about 3 years old. And then I moved to Manchester, Cheetham Hill. So that's actually where I grew up. I do have family in Tottenham. Most of my family are there still. So I go up and down quite. But I grew up in Manchester, Cheetham Hill. And to answer your question, growing up there, first initially, funny enough, being an Arsenal fan because my uncle was a massive Arsenal fan, and this is when he had the Invincibles or whatever. And then up until I actually went and signed for Man United, that's when I became a United fan because I think the rivalry back then was that sense between the two clubs. I was signing in the academy at United, and you weren't allowed to have your shot over your knees like Thierry Henry. We had quite a few fans at the time in the academy, so that was like that was a serious rivalry. So yeah, ever since then, really, I'm a Man United fan to be honest.
And in that sense, if Arsenal, City, and United all come in for you and they give you all very similar contracts tomorrow, which club would you pick?
Man United, without a shadow of a doubt, because United's my club. To be honest, like it's my club, it's my local club, the club that I've always supported. Obviously, I supported Arsenal, but not. I've not had the same feelings that I've had that I've had for Arsenal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And
Yeah,
if United, sort of said, right, come train with us for a month, we want you to come back in. If you walked in, you would feel that sense of home back, being back to
yeah,
normality.
yeah. I definitely feel like home, even when like, because a few of my cousins were actually at United, and I've got like kind of family friends and still and even when I've been back to the training ground in the past, it's like wow, I'm back. Like it brings back so many memories, like walking through the doors again and stuff like that. So, and when I do go there, the good thing about United, the staff still remember you sort of, and every time I go there, the coaches and that they always tell like my younger cousins and stories about me when I was younger in the academy and stuff like that. So stuff like that's really nice to hear.
And coming out through that and still feeling that way towards a club, even though we've gone through some hard times by being released, and having that sense of pride and going that's home and everyone's still recognizing you is one of the most remarkable things still to maintain and hold.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously I genuinely believe in life. It goes a long way to be a good person, and as long as you can leave a good impression on people, uh, whether that's on the pitch or off the pitch, it'll always stand you in good stead. Like that's one thing I always learned in there as well. Like don't just be pitch, be good off the pitch. You represent the club off the pitch. You represent yourself. So yeah,
And in that experience, with and what you say there is true to stay too. Um, And there's been players that have been at Newport County where I've coached, for example, and they've been there for years and years from a young age, and have been released. And then suddenly, where they have been released, they want to cut ties with the club. They hate the club. They've got no. Then they sort of like become disloyal to it as such. And you can understand why, especially if they spent 6 years or whatever there, and then they've been released. But when they sort of turn that everything that the club's given them into sort of hate because they've been released, and they cut those ties, it is not the greatest of things to do from my experience.
yeah. I mean, it's obviously players. Everyone's different. Do you know what I mean? Some players take being rejected light, and some players take it in a different light. So it just depends how you are, and also it depends on what actually happened in the situation. Obviously, a lot of the times fans don't know the ins and outs of what's happened behind the scenes. Maybe let's say, but he's been put out, so he will have them sort of feelings, which is just normal. Uh, but yeah, do you know what? Funnily enough, actually, I made my football league debut against not Newport County actually
At
uh,
York,
at York, and I don't know if you know what's his name now, right? Collins, Aaron Collins.
yeah, Aaron and Lewis Collins, yeah.
Aaron actually play. I'm actually kind of all right with Aaron. I could speak here and there, but like, yeah, I remember Aaron made his game. He actually scored, and then I remember going back to Newport in December and the pitch. Wow, pitch was a disgrace. So when we went back there twice, it was just a massive mud bath. But yeah,
Yeah, and that's what it's like. But it's slowly making its own improvements. And when you sort of been at the club like that, and you're a fan as well,
yeah,
that that's lower league football at times. But when you're seeing those sort of games in front of you, and you're getting and you're going to those sort of pitches,
yeah.
coming at, even when you're a young player, you're training at Carrington, and then you sort of go and play in those pitches, has such a different contrast in terms of what you've been used to.
Oh yeah, it's massive. It is a massive leveler. Like can that can win and lose a game. To be honest, just depends on the team's mentality. To be honest.
And I've just taken over an under 19s team, and it's full of former scholars when they were at Newport, and which is great. And I know most of them, and they were saying where they've won the league for the last 2 years at under 18s. They're saying they still didn't have a patch on their time in the academy because the football was fast, it was intense, that environment and those challenges and sort of the players and the locations that they played, was second to none compared to playing in an under 18s league still.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. I mean, like I said, obviously it depends what club you're at. Obviously, a lot of the football league clubs and that they don't have the luxury of having their own training ground and their own facilities. But they will use players where the pitches might not be good or. But I think, to be honest, I think That actually helps some players, to be honest. I mean, when you do get on the bowling green, it makes it easier. So, yeah.
And you experienced some time in Wales by being on loan at Wrexham. How was your experience at Wrexham?
I'll tell you what, Wrexham's a club that'll always have a special place in my heart because it was a place where I really started to enjoy my football when I did come back from the loans from York and when I did, um, I was really low on confidence, to be honest, when I went there. And when the actual initial loan idea came up, I'd already knew about Wrexham because when I was young, I always remember them. Wrexham fans, I think they were in like League One, so I think we played against them a few times. But I just always knew it was a massive club. So when that opportunity come up, I thought I've got to grab this with two hands. And plus, just at the time, Dean Keats assured me that I'd play, and it'd be to get my confidence back. And I think Brian Brian Flynn was obviously when I was at Burnley, he really had a good relationship with Brian Flynn at Burnley, and he recommended me to Dean Keats. Wrexham, obviously that connection, so it made things quite easy for me. But I absolutely loved my time at Wrexham. I spent a year there, and like the fans were amazing, but not just the fans, the people that like were in the club day to day basis. They were really nice, and I played with some really good there. So yeah, enjoyed it.
That's great to hear that you enjoyed your time at Wrexham. Seeing what they're going through now in terms of the investment and the backing that they got, and on the way forward that they're gonna go. From an ex-player, that must be great to sort of see that progression as a club.
Yeah, for me, it's amazing to see Wrexham doing so well, and obviously the money that's being pumped in now, I think fans deserve it, and not just the fans, the players that are there because they've done really well to obviously keep the club where they are to go to the next level, and everything's kind of stepped up like 100% with them, and you can see like they went through a lot of pain, them Wrexham fans, and for a club that size, it's a sleeping giant. But to now see that all the movements that happen with the stadium, with the quality players that they're bringing in, with the league position, it's really great to see, and I wish them all the best. I am pretty sure that they will be in the Football League within the next couple of years.
No, absolutely. I think they just missed out last year. They had some great runner and great results, and I think it's certainly there for them to happen. And I think that would be great for them if they could get back up into the football league.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, it would be amazing. I mean, I know the scenes in Wrexham will be absolutely crazy if that does happen, because the football man down there. Well, the beauty of Wrexham, it's the only club in the town, so it's like it's everyone goes to work in the week, and on the Saturday, it's basically like their church. So it's literally the mood is crazy in Wrexham when you lose. So I mean, when they win, it's great. So yeah.
And the mood of those fans, especially on a match day, can only add to your own performance and the excitement before walking out on the pitch. And, to then go out and play in front of them, must be an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. I remember the first time, my first ever game for Wrexham. I remember going through on goal, but like the roar, I'll never forget the roar. It was like, oh wow, this is a proper like club. This like, and they're very packed over there. They love the club. Obviously, they saved the club, the fans. So I mean, you can tell that it means so much to them. And obviously, to see them, it was gutting last year for the club. Obviously, not making it into the playoff final. Or I just hope that this year that they can do it, and it'll be a special thing for Wrexham.
Absolutely, and you only wish them the biggest of success. And out of all the places that you've been, and the loan experiences and what you've gone through, what has been the biggest challenge that you have ever faced in your career or life?
Biggest challenge. I think the biggest challenge that I faced in my career. was so COVID. Obviously, with COVID not having a club, I came back. I was training with my agent for a year. That was difficult because I didn't have a club, and then when COVID kind of started to die down, obviously I lost my cousin, Christian and Bulu. So that was a really period. And then not long after that, I'd lost agent as well at the time. So the last 18 months have been probably the most difficult periods of my career and my life, to be honest, because I lost two people that were basically with me every day. Like uh, my cousin was he's playing at Morecambe. He's a budding young footballer, centre half, and obviously to lose him suddenly, it really hit hard. And then also my agent, I had a father son relationship with my agent, so to lose him well was tough. So I'd say that's probably the toughest experiences that I've had in my career, to be honest.
It's certainly very, very tough. And again, it's all those unseen, factors which the fans don't, tend to see, may not even consider. And then suddenly you could play a match, and it's not the greatest of matches, and then they're criticising you. And again, it must be so difficult, for when fans are having a go, and all you're trying to do is live your life and fundamentally enjoy being a footballer.
Yeah, but I've always said I love for fans to be able to see what actually happens in the week. Conversations that I had, obviously, I know a lot of conversations are private, but I'd love for them to be able to see that and see what their opinions would be after that, because I certainly wouldn't be telling for example, a fan that works at the local, for example, let's say a fan that's a uni student. Let's say I certainly wouldn't be going into his uni and telling him what to do and what right and what he's doing wrong. I certainly wouldn't be doing that because that's not my field of expertise. The thing is with football, it's out there for everyone to comment on. Everyone's a football expert. Everyone would have done this. Everyone would have done that. But I'll never forget one thing my youth team coach said, and he said if it was easy, everyone would do it. So obviously, when you sign up as a footballer, you know that obviously criticism will come part of the game. So it's just about how you deal with it to be.
And it is difficult. And if say you stayed at Manchester United, you signed for them, your family would all still be close, and you'd have that network, and people around you, and you go home and then maybe spend time with them, and you can switch off from any criticism. But also being at South Shields, and having those other moves which you have had away from family, at times can you feel a bit isolated and alone because of that?
Do you know what? I have quite a big family. I have a very big family, and I'm one of them people that I'm very secure within myself. Like, so I can be away from family for a long time, be okay. Obviously, you have your times where sometimes, like when I was younger, if I had a bad game, it ruined my weekend and that. But then as I got older, I just curbed it to a side, and then you just think about the next game. And luckily, I've got a really good group of friends and family that obviously are really supportive to me. So in difficult times, they have helped me. So yeah.
And in that sense, in another perspective, if you were at Man United and you played for them and had that family, and you're going to and enjoying that time with them, and doing all those regular things, coming out the South Shields changes your weekly routine or your week entirely. How do and again it goes back to that bit where you wish the fans could see that bit. So how does a typical week look for you?
So my typical week at our Shields is we're in on a Monday. We have to be in 9:30. We'll be out on the training pitch at 10:30. 11:30. 11:30 probably finish training, or then we'd be out. We'd have food at 12:30. Between 12 and 12:30. Then we'd have gym at 2 o'clock, and then after gym, you'd probably be done at gym at about 3 o'clock. You're at home, but the thing is with football, it's impossible to switch off as a footballer. You always think about football. Even when you're thinking about what to do better or game or so. So yeah, I know it's shorter than the average person day, but it's different, if that makes sense. I don't think the average person could just come in to football and be able to do the job that we do, if that makes sense. But they could also say the same as for us going the other way. So it's just one of the things. That's why I don't really, me personally, I don't comment on other people's jobs because I don't know what it takes for them to do that job.
No,
So
absolutely, and again, it's all those unseen things, and everything which we're all going through, and quit, having that gym session, and eating the food maybe together, and what it's like. Some people do a job where they won't even have lunch with other people, but you're socialising all the time, and you have those expectations of the manager. You're having constant conversations. You're constantly be giving technical information. You're constantly giving feedback, and it's so much intake throughout an entire week, and especially for a game as well. By the end of it, that's such a long week within itself.
yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. Obviously, there's a lot to get through in a week, and there's so much information that you've got to lodge in your mind and keep and stuff like that. So you've just got to be you got to be mentally switched on pretty much 90% of the time as a footballer. So yeah,
And in that sense, when you have players who have finished a long career, they started at 18, they might finish at 35, 36, and then they don't even want to get back into football, whether it's punditry or coaching. They're happy to walk away. You can
yeah,
completely understand from that perspective.
yeah, you can, yeah, of course, because the thing is with football, it's a sacrifice. You could be working in a job, for example, like a flipping. You could work at a Tesco's for 30 years or whatever. You know when you're gonna have your time off. You know when you're gonna break. But you're missing family functions. You're missing weddings. You're missing important things because of your career, and that's just how it is. That's what we've signed up for, and people don't really think about them things. So yeah,
And it's those things which you end up missing. I know that I missed my dad's graduation because I was delivering a training session at the academy that night, and people don't see what you've given for that commitment, and then are quite happily to criticise you later on in the week.
you know what? You know, with that being said, it's not the player that makes sacrifices as well. It's also the family, the players. My parents made so many sacrifices to be in the position that it is. I've always said it. When you sign football, it's not just you that has that lifestyle now. It's your family as well. They've got to cater for obviously you. It's tough on the whole family. I'd say. I'd say like my relationship with my siblings. I wouldn't say it's not strong, but I've been away from home since 15, so I've missed a lot of things. Uh, So it's different to another home where they're used to seeing their brother all the time, and obviously siblings understand. They understood young, so it's there are other things that people don't see.
Yeah, and even when say dad was taking you to training, and training's 2 hours long, just that adds up over a week, and then by the time you've taken into contrast all those years, all the travelling, all the friendlies, etc., and all the other commitments,
Yeah,
that's a lot of life committed to excelling for what you are, and that great commitment that from fantastic parents that you've had.
yeah, and obviously I can only thank my parents. I can't thank like, but it's also tough for other parents that they sacrifice so much for the child, and then boom, one day they might just get told, well, the child's not good enough. They've put everything into that child, and then do you know what I mean? So that's where football, I see it as a gamble, to be honest. When I have, would I probably get to play football? I don't know. Probably, probably doubt it, just because of what I know, what happens in the industry, and all that type of stuff. I don't know.
And it's it's difficult when you even you've football's bigged up with it as this dream, and most kids are naturally going to have it, especially boys, because that's as soon as they're born, they're given a ball straight away, and they're in that environment straight away all the time, even at break, and in school and primary, and then sort of to have a dad as a professional footballer, and then they've got that dream in them for them to go, well, I want to be one, and then sort of go in, well, maybe not, can be quite difficult in that, even thinking about it.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough because like I was having this conversation with one of my friends the other day. When I was obviously growing up, getting into an academy and stuff like that, it was different back then, like the way kids grow up back then, and the way kids grow up now. Like now, when I was a kid, I was at these times be on the park football, my mates just running around, just not being a kid. But now it's not more. It's kids are on their console, iPad, and you don't see kids playing out on street football anymore. So it's different. I feel like in a lot of the academies now, the kids are like robots. They're not allowed to express themselves. So it is different, to be honest. I just want my child to learn what they're doing, to be honest.
It's great in that sense that you want that creativity and you want them to go back and be that child. In the sense of what you had in terms of get out on the street, just kick a ball, just make up those games which not many kids know about anymore. Sometimes I go into like a training session and I'll strip it back and go, right, boys, we're doing a World Cup or we're doing 1v1s or we're going to do keeper and all
Yeah.
sorts of things like that. And then they look at you like, what? And it's like,
Well,
we should know these off the street.
yeah. I mean, that's like it's another thing. Like the street football, a lot of my skills. I don't think if I was good at street football that I would have signed for Man United. Like all the stuff I learned on the street, I took it into Man United, and that was good enough for them. Do you know what I mean? And I think you're also getting hours away from Man United. So I was coming into Man United skills that I've learned from the street, not from the actual coaches. So I think that's a massive thing gone in obviously the youth of today. But it'd be amazing if it did come back.
In a sense, from my coach's perspective, if you had 10 of the boys who were all the same, they gave their commitment, they're, wearing the jersey inside out, they're at every training, and then, they're all exactly like each other, but then you get someone like you who's got that experience of street football, who's been out there, who's got those street smarts, has developed and added more to their game, got that cheeky personality, out of all the 10 boys, if you added you in, you would be the one who would stand out for me in that group.
Yeah, yeah. Which is true. That's what I see in a lot of academies now. It's the lads that because most, for example, 23 teams, you see it. You get lads that have been in the academy the whole way through, and they all play exactly the same. And then you'll get a lad that come on try non-league, and he's just different, completely different. And he's for him, it's for him to catch the eye than one of the lads that have actually been there. It's like he's stuck in a system, if that makes sense. Whereas this kid, he could be raw, he'll be more desire, like have more desire. I can't really explain it. It's different. It is a kind of hunger and the attitude towards it. That's not to say obviously the academy lads don't have the right attitude and stuff like that, but it's just something different. Everyone likes something different.
No, absolutely, and as soon as you explained all that, I can remember recalling one player that we brought into one, development centre session with our squad, and all the boys have been there 3, 4, 5 years, and it just within one session, 20 minutes into the small-sided game, he had that hunger, he had that desire, he was raw, he was off the streets, he wanted it, and he had so many offers because he was a great player, and we had the same with a boy who come from Birmingham. He had never played football before, suddenly got put in that environment, ended up winning Players Player of the Season, Academy Player of the Season, and it's because he had that desire and wasn't robotic, which really helped him excel compared to the other boys.
Yeah, yeah. Which is there is a lot of robotic footballers now seeing these and that. That's why, like for example, I've heard City have three teams. They have the actual academy, then they have the athletes group, and then they have the shadow squad. And they want to make these athletes and players because they have something different. So yeah,
And it can be quite tough, I've seen a lot of criticism in the sense of the Man City, academy. But at the end of the day, you're there to produce footballers, and if you can
yeah,
excel them and create that, that's going to happen. But I think it was an under fives, and they labelled it under fives elite team, and people are like, how can you label under fives elite?
yeah. But in a sense, I completely understand it because I remember being that age and I wasn't like a normal kid. Like, and that's not to be big-headed. That's not to be anything. I just wasn't like a 5-year-old. So I was playing football. I wasn't playing like a 5-year-old. I was playing like someone like that's a lot older. Hence why when I was going to play on the park with like older lads and that, they'd want me to play because they think, wow, this kid's good, sort of thing. So I understand the elite, the word elite when they're using it with kids, because there are kids that are but then there's also kids that are slow learners or slow burners. Some kids are unbelievable from the age of 5 to 12 and they fall off. And there's kids that go from 12 to and go the other way. So I understand the way they go about it though.
Absolutely, and Brentford got rid of their academy, and they were seen quite revolutionary because of doing that. And then suddenly, last month or a couple of weeks ago, I believe it is, that they're going to reintroduce their entire academy to produce these kind of footballers.
Yeah. So it's strange. I think British and English football through a phase, to be honest. Going through a phase. Whether it's good or bad, obviously time will tell.
No, absolutely, and being a youth player, did any opportunity ever present itself to ever get near the youth setup for the English FA?
Um oh no, my the only opportunity internationally that I actually had was my parents' native country, Congo. Um and that just never really came to fruition. Um that was the only thing really. Yeah.
And even though you have the opportunity to play for England or the Congo, if they were both presented to you tomorrow and said, "Look, you got to pick one," who would you pick?
Play for Congo without a shadow of a doubt. Without a shadow of, and obviously I grew grown up in I'm English, but I really see myself as being Congolese, and that's just because I'm very into my culture. The language, Lingala, I actually speak it fluently. So when I was at home growing up, my parents obviously were new to the country, so I only speak Lingala. Probably the first language I learned before English. And I just Congolese people were a very proud people. Come from a very obviously big nation that is water. Obviously, if you know about, well, a lot of things have happened there. But we're such a proud people, and I feel like the feeling for me to play for Congo would be 10 times better than the feeling to play for England.
And it's that sense of pride and that sense of belonging and that amazing opportunity to represent a country, which would be fantastic. I know I was speaking to Darren Pratley before, and he said that he was able to play for England or Jamaica, and Jamaica said, "Look, we want you to come play for the national team," and he said no. And I think when I was speaking to someone else, they said, "I don't even know how you could contemplate saying no, playing for a national team and having that experience."
Yeah, no, and that I understand why that person said that, because me, with all these places that I've been to in my career, I'm someone that likes a journey. I like a new challenge. So for me, that's an amazing challenge, and I know one, it will make my parents so proud. That's their country of birth, and I've got family that could potentially change people's lives there. Do you know? And it's just a sheer sense of pride. I don't know. Obviously, with you guys being Welsh, and Welsh people are very proud people. So um, to play for Congo would be a dream come true, to be honest.
And let's hope that the opportunity does present itself, even if it was to be called up and just be part of that environment, and to understand what it's like to be on that international level, which would
Yeah,
be great.
yeah, yeah. Even that, I'd love it. I'd really take it into my stride. So, and hopefully something does happen.
And it's that hope and that belief which I really hope for you. Before I let you go, what key values and life lessons have you taken away and would give or tell to someone else in the sport?
Um, I think one thing I always learn from very young at football, obviously at United, we always taught to respect everybody and I think that was instilled obviously by Sir Alex at the club. I go back to obviously that thing of family. Like, the reason why I was so heartbroken leaving there because I literally felt like I left my family. Like, you respect it, whether it's that's the woman that takes the bins out straight to the first team. Like, and respect is a massive thing in life anyway, but in football it goes such a long way. Respect, being honest, and one thing I've always tried to do in my career is always have time for fans. Like, it don't, what's it, 37, like having a 30-second conversation with a fan might even make they could have been going through the maddest thing, but that conversation might have helped them further along down the line. So for me, just making time for others if you can. So yeah.
And that's upheld because I remember reading a story once. I can't quite remember who said it, but it was a Manchester United. Sir Alex Ferguson was outside signing the whatever the fans had, and then all the players were on the bus, and then Fergie got on the bus and he bollocked all the players for getting on the bus and made them all get off and sign the everything that the fans wanted.
Yeah, because the thing is with fans, obviously the beauty of it, they pay their money. Do you know what I mean? Like that Saturday, that game, that 90 minutes, it's basically what they build their weeks up for. You get the fans that travel home and away and stuff. Me personally, I don't think I'd ever travel home and away for any club, but obviously that's the beauty of being fan of a club. I mean, and you never know, they could be putting their life savings on. They could have just got paid and spent the whole week and just going to work. So for me, show them that respect and give them the time of day, to be honest.
And that's exactly that. And again, it's all those adversities we don't see people going through, but it's united through football, and everyone comes together for that common cause, both players, fans, and any other stakeholders. But it's been really great speaking to you. I've really enjoyed it, and you've had a great journey, and I wish you the best of luck in everything.
Thank you.
And I hope to see you rise through the ranks and help the team get promoted as well. And I'm really grateful of the time you've given tonight.
No, thank you very much for obviously having me on the platform. It's been amazing and a really insightful conversation. So I wish you all the best with the podcast, and hopefully you get bigger names, and obviously you get more views and stuff like that, and obviously just progress what you're trying to do. But thank you.
No, absolutely, it's been brilliant, and I wish you the best of luck. But stay in touch, and I wish you the best of luck for the season.
Thank you very much. Stop, man.
No worries, nice one.
See you later.
See you later.